Okay. First things first, I got a cat in here. I'm Lars. This is my land. In my land, I get to do like pretty much whatever I want. It's my land. So today I'm going to compare the 1970 album Let It Be to the 2003 remake Let It Be Naked. And you're gonna listen, because it's my land. The whole purpose behind Let It Be, the Get Back project, all of it, was to have a completely stripped down, no overdubs, something you could play live album. That was the point. So when Phil Spector was brought in to produce the album using his signature wall of sound production, it seemed counterintuitive at best and sabotage at worst. This change in production most certainly made the Beatles breakup much more contentious and absolutely shaped the way that the post-breakup relationships continued until to this day. It's a lot. Welcome to Annoying Memos Land. Beep, 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 beep. If you're new here, I talk mostly about the Beatles, but I'm also really into TV and movies, and that content will come eventually. And that's because I've been working on a video essay on the TV show Lost for so long now that if I don't mention it in every video I do, I'm going to be stuck alone in a room with Rorschach and...
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
I would absolutely love it if you guys would like and subscribe and all of that jazz. That actually helps out a whole lot. So hit subscribe and claim your passport to Lars Land today. I'm sorry, that was so stupid. All right, let's go back to my land. So I get that this bit is boring, but here's what's gonna happen. I'm going to talk about the whole story behind Let It Be because it is a lot of information and it's important, okay? And then I'm gonna talk about Let It Be Naked for a minute, and then I'm going to listen to Let It Be, give my reactions, Let It Be Naked, give my reactions, and then ultimately give my verdict. By the way, I started this project with like a clear, firm, this is going to be the answer. I do not know how this video is going to end right now. No clue. It's time to talk about Get Back. I know a few things about Get Back. What is it, like sleazy detective music? Oh, so you want to talk about Get Back. Well, baby, I know a few things about Get Back. Here's the thing, it's a problem. I've seen the Get Back documentary literally, not an exaggeration, 30 times. It's happened. You're here watching my videos for a reason, right? I've done a fair few videos on this. Like my most popular videos are about Let It Be and Get Back, not just the documentary. I own a couple of books. All of my sources are in the description box. There are a lot for this video. I think there are 13. I've listened to the Nagra Tapes. I've read several books on the Get Back / Let It Be era, watched plenty of interviews with the Beatles themselves and etc., reading about times where they talk about this era. When I first became a Beatlemaniac, I never thought that I would be able to pick a favorite anything, but here we are 1 year today into my YouTube journey. I hate that word. And I can easily say that Let It Be is my favorite album ever. The Let It Be songs, the Get Back songs, this is my favorite album. Tied to nostalgia, sure, why not? Whatever. I love it so much, who cares? Essentially, Get Back was the documentary film process and recording of the Let It Be album. Let It Be was the initial documentary that came out in 1970, also with the companion album, Let It Be. Get Back is a whole story, and it is important, not this video. It's gonna be a big video about Get Back, so I'm not gonna talk about it here. I'm just gonna go straight into the Let It Be album. The thing that matters the most is we were going for a live performance aesthetic. No overdubs. Everything that goes on the track is something that you can make in the studio, so that's what the album was. 3 songs performed on the rooftop went into the original Let It Be album, and that was I've Got a Feeling, Dig a Pony, and One After 909. George Martin was like originally producer, but Glenn Johns was brought on as an engineer. During the time of recording, he started putting together songs. He was pulling excerpts and kind of adding some studio noise, so you get this vibe of you're here in the studio. It was very much what you would assume that vibe of no redubs, just live Beatles music would feel like. And the Beatles dug it, so they were like, yeah, keep working on it. Filming wraps, they finished the rooftop concert, and Glenn keeps working on it. And eventually he gets an acetate together and he sends it to the Beatles. So it gets leaked. It's broadcast in its entirety to Boston, Buffalo, and Cleveland. So it was obviously ripped off and titled come back, check the screen for the spelling, and it was even reviewed in Rolling Stone because it had become like such a thing. It was one of the first known bootlegs from what I read. You guys can correct me on that down in the comments. Now we actually have the Glyn Johns mix. That is disc 4 in the Super Deluxe Let It Be album. Glyn Johns has worked on this a little bit. He's not really hearing back from the Beatles and he's kind of concerned maybe they're losing interest, and they're also starting on Abbey Road. On the prolific day September 20th 1969, John meets up with the Beatles. He says, I want a divorce. I want out. I'm leaving the Beatles. I'm leaving the group right now. And after that, Paul immediately goes into hiding. It's like a Willy Wonka situation. Nobody ever comes in. Nobody ever goes out. He's on his Scottish farm. The Paul is dead rumors are coming around. Watch that video. Oh my God, please stop being like this. At one point, he changes his phone number without telling anybody. He only communicates with the Beatles through his lawyer, which is his brother and father-in-law. He's essentially a full hermit. He has gone full Lars Land. There's a lot of contract mess going on with representation of the Beatles. Alan Klein signing new contracts. They just signed a new contract. This is not the right video for that. It's confusing and there's a lot. So just trust me. I'm just gonna pass on over it, and I will give details that matter when I need to, and I'm sorry. Do you want that video sooner rather than later? I can do it, but I always felt like people wouldn't want it sooner. They'd want it later. Stop tucking your hair behind your ear, please, for the love of God. January 1970, Glyn Johns has booked the Olympic Studios. It's not in my notes. And he needs to get another set of vocals for Across the Universe. The first recording of Across the Universe was recorded in mono. It was in 1968. They needed another take. John comes in, sings this take, and he's like, this is perfect. It was perfect. And Glyn's like, yeah, it was great. Let's do another one so I can record it. And John's like, I can never sing it that good again. And Glyn's like, I'm sorry, dude. You know that I have to get the levels. We have to have a first take. I need to get your levels. This is like baby stuff. You know this stuff. John is furious, and this is all according to Glyn, by the way. John is furious, storms out, and that was kind of it, as far as I know. Pretty sure that John was either on drugs or not on drugs, but needed to be on them. You know what I'm saying? It's called withdrawing. Why didn't I just say it like that? Why would you say it so stupid? Because Paul, my favorite little control freak, is hidden away in Wonka World or whatever, John and George are taking over on the Let It Be production. So they're not happy with Glyn Johns anymore. In late January 1970, they bring in Phil Spector. They give Alan Klein permission, give him the masters. He's gonna start working on our stuff. Now, Phil Spector is a piece of work, also a piece of shit. I mean, he's a lot of things. That's a different video too, a video I don't want to do. He's known for his wall of sound production. It is everything to the wall. A big blast of music. It is a wall of sound. I don't know a lot about the guy, but I know how that sounds. You know, it's distinctive. And it's completely counterintuitive to what the original goal was. No overdubs, original stuff. It wasn't just Paul's vision to say that. George says it in the first, I don't know, day or two of the Get Back recording, where he's like, we really should just do it like this. We should just do it like this. Meaning he wanted to do things back like in a cavern club type situation. They all wanted it to be this back to the roots kind of pop-up show, and that's how they wanted it to go. John bringing in Phil Spector as this production, it's definitely, at best, it's convenient because he was just working with Phil Spector on Instant Karma. That was recorded January 27th, 1969. It's released February 6th, 1970. It's all in the same time period. It could also be he's really digging Phil Spector. Phil Spector was really popular at that point. But some people viewed it as sabotage because it was the complete and exact opposite of what the original point of the Let It Be / Get Back album was supposed to be. This very simplistic live thing, not this wall of sound. What I meant to say essentially is that Paul got mad. Oh, Across the Universe. John declined giving Glyn Johns a producer credit on the Get Back album. Glyn Johns asks John, hey, can I have producer credit on the Let It Be album? I worked so hard on it. John says, No. Glenn says that John was skeptical because Glenn says, I don't want money. I just want my name on the album because it'll look good on my resume and I'm trying to build my career. This is what he says now. And John's like, I don't know about that. Now, he didn't need to worry about it because he went on to work with everybody, including Led Zeppelin, The Who, Bob Dylan, Neil Young, Eric Clapton, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Joe Cocker, The Eagles, Faces, Leon Russell, The Clash, and like a bazillion more people. He was fine. So Phil Spector is known for his erratic behavior in the studio. Like at one point he literally shot a gun next to John's ear, our John's ear. Yeah. And John was like, if you're gonna kill me, but can you not shoot a gun next to my ears? If I can't hear, I'm worth nothing. That's a nice John Lennon response. I would have expected it to be funnier, but it is true. That's a joke. Relax. That's a joke. Phil Spector's in the studio. Things are getting kind of weird. It's April 1st, 1970. The only Beatle in the studio is Ringo. Ringo has just about had it. I'm assuming he is wasted. I'm assuming that the only thing he can do is drum. And they were putting on the orchestral additions to The Long and Winding Road, Across the Universe, and I Mean Mine. According to a balance engineer, Peter Bown is the name I'm seeing here. According to this, Phil wanted tape echo on everything. He was asking for different pills every half hour. He had his bodyguard with him constantly, and he was acting really paranoid and kind of demanding. At one point, the orchestra becomes so annoyed with him that they refused to keep playing. They were like, get your shit together. At one point, the balance engineer literally leaves, just as like, bye. Phil has to call him up, tail between legs, crying, sorry. I don't know if he was crying. That's not in my notes. Apparently, the reason why Phil Spector was able to calm down is because Ringo told him to calm down, which tracks. So that's April 1st. Phil Spector wraps it up. April 2nd, Phil Spector sends out acetates to each of the Beatles and says, if there's anything you want me to change, call me tonight. I got you. I'll be happy to change, whatever. All four of them listen, confirm via telegraph. We're good to go. Remember that things are very bad, very bad. Paul has just come out publicly and said, I'm leaving the Beatles. Now, the world does not know that John was the one to break up the Beatles to begin with. So Paul is taking this right front center first. He comes out swinging, the Beatles are over, and I have my first solo album, McCartney, coming out April 9th. Let It Be slated to come out May 8th. There was a lot of squabble with that date. Guys, we don't have time. So after McCartney comes out, Paul decides to say, by the way, when I telegrammed and said that everything was fine, I was just trying to appease everybody because I thought that I had to. I didn't mean it. There are things that are really bothering me and I don't like it. I want to change this stuff on The Long and Winding Road. So in an April 14th letter, after the album has already gone into manufacturing, Paul sends a letter to Alan Klein and Phil Spector, and it says this: Dear Sir, in future, no one will, and I'll put it on screen. Dear Sir, in future, no one will be allowed to add to or subtract from a recording of one of my songs without my permission. I had considered orchestrating The Long and Winding Road, but I had decided against it. I therefore want it altered to these specifications. 1. Strings, horns, voices, and all added noises to be reduced in volume. 2. Vocal and Beatle instrumentation to be brought up in volume. 3. A harp to be removed completely at the end of the song and original piano notes to be substituted. 4. Don't ever do it again. Signed, Paul McCartney, carbon copy, Phil Spector, John Eastman. Don't ever do it again. Things aren't good. Paul and the other Beatles just signed a contract. Paul wants out of this contract. Paul has to sue the Beatles to get out of his contract. He sues the Beatles and he sues ABCO, which is Alan Klein. Different video. Part of the lawsuit is what happened with Long and Winding Road. Eventually, the High Court actually rules in Paul's favor. The contract is dissolved. The remaining Beatles' relationship with Alan Klein soured shortly thereafter. There is general fallout from the actual Let It Be release. Glenn Johns is furious. I have never read the word puke so many times in quotes in reputable sources. Lots of articles. If I've said Glenn Jones at all in this, I'm very sorry. Glenn Johns has not been meek or quiet about how he feels. John obviously had a conversation with Spector and thought it would be a great idea to give him what we'd recorded and have Spector crap all over it. I was disappointed that Lennon got away with giving it to Spector, and even more disappointed with what Spector did to it. It has nothing to do with the Beatles at all. Let It Be is such a bunch of garbage. As I say in the book, he puked all over it. I've never listened to the whole thing. I've only listened to the first few bars of some things and said, oh, forget it. It was ridiculously, disgustingly syrupy. John Lennon vehemently disagrees in his 1970 interview with Rolling Stone, that's probably a video on its own. He says about Phil Spector, he was given the shittiest load of badly recorded shit and with a lousy feeling to it ever. And he made something out of it. When I heard it, I didn't puke. There's just a lot of use of that word, man. When George Martin found out that he wasn't getting a production credit on Let It Be, he was displeased as well. And he said, I produced the original, and what you should do is have a credit saying, produced by George Martin, overproduced by Phil Spector. Paul picked up the Academy Award for the Let It Be soundtrack. So people are like, well, you must not dislike it that much because you like your award, which I think is a shitty argument. In 2003, Spector called McCartney's criticism hypocritical, alleging that Paul had no problem picking up the Academy Award for the Let It Be movie soundtrack, nor did he have any problem in using my arrangement of the string and horn and choir parts when he performed it 25 years of touring on his own. If Paul wants to get in a pissing contest about it, he's got me mixed up with someone who gives a shit, which I think is funny because that is a very long paragraphs for someone who doesn't give a shit. In The Long and Winding Road, John is playing the 6-string bass and he's notoriously playing it very poorly. Phil Spector says that he had to overproduce the orchestra to cover up the shitty bass playing. Let It Be had mixed criticisms. Here's a review that I felt like covered everything that I saw from all these reviews. This is from Rolling Stone. It's John Mendelsohn. He was critical of the album, but he says, musically, boys, you passed the audition. In terms of having judgment to avoid either overproducing yourselves or casting the fate of your get back statement to the most notorious of all overproducers, you didn't. So he's saying like, musically, the music was good. The music was good, but the choice in production was wrong. And that's kind of the thing that I saw regularly. Let It Be Naked came out in 2003. It was initiated by Paul, and he wanted to have Let It Be without all the razzle dazzle, if you will. He wanted the album to be performed in the way that it was intended, completely stripped down, no edits, doing it in the road and such. Paul style. Things to know is that George Harrison approved the Naked project before he died. Obviously, Ringo approved it as well. The order of the songs are different, and it is pretty jarring. All of the little excerpts, John joking, and any sort of like Foley noises, those have all been taken out. Dig It and Maggie May are removed, and in its place is Don't Let Me Down. I found its reception really interesting. In one review, it was called a stronger, sleeker album, but another reviewer said it was non-essential. And then another says that it's better than Let It Be, but beginners should start with the 1970 album before getting into Naked. And then another one says that everything is better without Spector, taking out John's jokes and the water spray sounds, but stripping the album of all of those extra Foley sounds also stripped it of its humor and lightheartedness. These two albums, it's difficult to put them head to head. The Glenn Johns mix is going to get its own video. I decided that when I was working on this. That became very obvious very fast that I wasn't going to be able to put all three in here, and it would take away from the point is what Let It Be became and what Let It Be was intended to be, or as close as it could have been. I only listened to 3 to 7 seconds of Beatles music straight, and if you want to know more about that, I have explained it in the description. Let's do this. Before we jump into Let It Be, I should say that sometimes there will be songs where I don't stop as much, the sections will be shorter, or there will be like whole parts of songs that have no commentary about them. That's not always because I didn't find it noteworthy. It's also sometimes because I get so engrossed in the song that I forget about this and just was doing this, You guys notice anything about the chair? You get your hair cut, something's different. I don't know. It is June 14th right now. I'm filming this late. Lots of stuff happened. And so this is gonna be hell for editing me, but I just want it to be good. So yeah. Let's go listen to my favorite fucking album. Let's go. Sorry, Prince. Oh, I scared him. Everything's fine. 2 of us. There we go. This song is really sweet because it's very simple. It's very reminiscent of the early Beatles songs, the ones that you had to write and you had to remember because they didn't have recorders on hand. So you write it and you remember it. This is how it goes. Two of Us, it's this kind of back to the basics, simple song. It is so happy and it is very nostalgic. It makes me nostalgic for something that I wasn't alive for. And the rhythm guitar right there, hard. The Lennon-McCartney harmony on this one is awesome. It like really showcases what's so lovable about them. It's a song that it's very easy to take it for granted, and I bet a lot of people do. I have to say, John's guitar, rhythm guitar, sounds so good in this song. Listening to them right there, that doesn't sound like Paul or John. Like, oh yeah, that's Paul taking the top harmony, John. Like, that sounds like Paul and John. It's very it's so cohesive that it's hard to pick them apart. It's really good. Dig a Pony. Full disclosure, this is one of my favorite songs of all time. And this is one of the rooftop performances recordings, so you can hear them spraying their hands and you hear George counting it in. I'm trying to think of where I'm going to pause because I really enjoy the song. I don't pick it apart very much because I love the song so much. Paul's vocals are great. John's vocals are great. They sound amazing together. I sometimes attribute meanings to songs just because I'm a person and I do things, and I am a sensitive little baby back bitch. And this song I have attributed to my project with Lost. Things have gone wrong. I mean, I've lost the entire project in December, so I had to start it entirely over. This was a song that I would play and remind myself everything has to be the way that you want it to. Like, it's coming in your time. That's because this is yours. This is this very specific meaning to one person. Listening to the song has gone through some really hard times. When I lost that project, I lost my mind. This kind of reminded me, like, you are gonna keep going. You might need to take a break, but you're gonna keep going. This is all you want. It's okay. Everybody has songs from the Beatles, from any band, really, your favorite songs that you could sit and talk about. This meant this specifically to me. I'm like so grateful for this fucking song. I film Lost 3 times. The third iteration, I had cut all of it together with 2 mistakes, my mistakes, 3 weeks apart, stupid mistakes. I lost 3.0 completely. It was wiped. I also lost 3 TV videos and Magical Mystery Tour reaction. Some things we don't need. We don't need everything. But ultimately, I think having this actual song helped me. This song gives me freedom. This song gives me like freedom. Paul sounds so good. This is on the rooftop. They're freezing their buns off. They are wearing their wives' coats. I love the mix. I think it's great. It's hard to listen to this song without thinking about that quote John was talking about across the universe and how he didn't like the song. He's said he's liked the song and disliked the song. It's something he does, it's fine. They all change their minds. They're human. But he said that he hated Across the Universe because it didn't get a good shot and he was destroyed psychologically and he's singing out of key. And you can learn more about that in my John Lennon Hated His Voice video. And I think about that because it sounds great to me. I have to admit that still my favorite version of Across the Universe is one that is actually just in Get Back when Paul is singing along him and he's doing a high harmony. I think it sounds the best out of all of them. That's including No One's Gonna Change Our World and all the other versions. It's my favorite one. But that's probably due to nostalgia and having heard that before, having heard all of these other versions. So blame it to the Get Back bias, but it is true. I like Across the Universe a lot. Like, it's not something that you're probably gonna put on like your workout playlist or whatever, but it's also one that you're like, man, I can't skip Across the Universe. I feel like I'm gonna get like put on the naughty list or something for that. I Me Mine. I like the instrumentation a lot, the orchestral additions on I Me Mine. It is so like Bond movie dramatic. I really like it a lot. And then it goes and does that shit. You're like, wait a minute, you done switched up on me again? Like this? Here? This is the actual star of this song. That riff, perfect. I've been listening through these albums, all these different versions with over-the-ear headphones on, and one thing I've been looking for is like, how do they emphasize that riff? Because it's like the most important part for me of this song. And then Bond music, and then... I mean, it's just dirty. Like, this is a pure filthy song. It sounds great. George sounds great. By the way, John is not on this recording. Did not want to do this one. Dig it. I have no problem with Dig It, really. I really don't. I have no problem with jam band sessions. I really do love like a good jam band. This is just not the best jam that they had from the Get Back sessions, so that's like my thing. It gets like a little interesting at the end. Let It Be. This song is like outrageously famous, right? Let It Be is something that maybe when I came into the fandom, I took it for granted. It has hit me in a different way in the past couple months. When the broken-hearted people... The way that they bring the drums in is really perfect. People living in the world agree. His vocals sound so good. I mean, you know, knowing Paul, he could just sing like this just for fun. It sounds really good. There's a reason why it's a prolific song. There's just very few flaws in it. And here's the thing, Paul hates this version of Let It Be. He really does. That's one of the reasons like the lawsuit happened. Obviously, I just talked about it, but it doesn't change the fact that lots of people love this version, and it doesn't change the fact that I enjoy it as well. That's the thing. Does it illegitimize your enjoyment knowing that this is not the way that Paul wanted it to be? That's an impossible choice. I can't say that I don't enjoy something because I'm a purist and I want to honor Paul and how the Beatles originally intended it to be, but this is the way it went out, and I still find myself enjoying it. You know what I mean? I mean, those horns are great. You know, a lot of people, you think of like a lead guitarist, you think of a rock star, and it's just like this unfeeling, kick-ass man doing, you know, big, unfeeling, kick-ass man things as a big rock star. But, you know, when you listen to George Harrison play guitar, you feel something very different. Something emotional about that. This song is so accessible, like I said, that I think we take it for granted. So if you stop and listen to that guitar solo, it's gonna kick you in the nuts and you're gonna be like, oh shit, I wasn't prepared for that. Sorry, I just teleported to like a different universe. And here's Maggie May. Oh, dirty Maggie May. This is obviously a joking song. This is a pub song. One of the first songs that John learned how to play on guitar or banjo. His mom, Julia, actually taught it to him. It's one that John and Paul like to, actually all the Beatles like to play together. It's, you know, one everybody knows, and obviously they are goofballs. Yeah? Uh-huh. Oh yeah, really? I've Got a Feeling. This is a good song. We've got Billy Preston, and he's on the Fender Rhodes piano for this. He's on a bunch of shit. This is another one of the rooftop songs. This sounds so good. Paul sounds really good. Like, Billy Preston has fingers of magic. He's so good. He's really good. He really did enhance like every single Beatles song that he was on. I like that guitar, like right there in the middle. It sounds like it's like a Chevy Ford commercial. Yes, you're so busy listening to Paul that you're not even listening to George freaking shredding underneath Paul screaming, and it's crazy. It is a multifaceted kick-ass song. Everybody had a wet dream. There are so many Paul voices, but man, there are so many John voices. This John voice sounds at peace. He sounds happy, bright. He sounds real. He sounds there. It's like one of those moments where you're like, you're still there. Because back in 1969, there were a lot of times when he just wasn't there. Did you know that they all stayed the night together before the rooftop concert? John said that they had to sleep over so they could get in the mood. It's cute. They had to do some Beatles sandwich shit. I could listen to that for like 8 hours. All right. One After 909, and this is the third rooftop performance that went on Let It Be. Love this song. They wrote this when they were kids, and it is so perfect. The words, they laugh about it and get back. Hang on, that's a cat. What do you need? Warning, the specific cat that's in here right now is a real bastard. As in, he might be meowing at the door or whatever. When I say he's a real bastard, I mean, I love him so much, but he is very needy. So, One After 909, they wrote it when they were kids. They were laughing about the lyrics. You're only fooling around. You're only fooling around with me. They're very clever, cute little lyrics. I don't have any complaints about this song to the point where I'm not sure how much pausing I'm going to be able to do. They sound so happy, you know? The Long and Winding Road, which we've talked a little bit about today. It is a lot, isn't it? That really is a whole wall of sound, isn't it? It doesn't sound bad. No, it sounds great. I don't mind it at all. I really like it. Hang on. Do you want to go out, Nelsy? It's a Nailsy boy. This is Nails. He's a very anxious boy, and so I'm gonna leave the door open. I know my audio sucks anyway. I'm so sorry. I know that I've got a bunch of audio files probably here, and I just like torture y'all. I'm listening to it right now, you know, knowing what I know about the lawsuit, knowing what I know about the intention of Let It Be / Get Back, whatever you want to call it. And I'm trying to like criticize this song, but I just really like this song. It's hard for me to be like, oh, I don't know, this takes away from it, you know, where I'm just like, pretend that you're just listening to the song. You don't know any other versions. And it's very good. I can't just sit here and say, oh, I don't find this moving. This song is mid. And I'm not going to sit here and criticize for the sake of criticism because it's supposed to be controversial or clickbaity. Sorry, I know I'm so fucking boring in my own land, but then again, I have ethics and morals. Isn't that weird? I don't have it here, but there is a quote where Paul said that he objected. That's also a cat. That's a different cat. Paul said that he objected to the use of female vocalists in a Beatles record. He was like, I would never use female vocals in a Beatles record. And I'm like, y'all forget your own shit. And I know he didn't choose Yoko. I know that John did, but still. Okay, I have my criticism, all right? This isn't a Beatles song. This is a Disney movie. And that's what that is. Right there, that was a Disney movie. That's what that sounded like to me. I get why he doesn't like it. I get it. But it is good. I don't know what do you guys think of Long and Winding Road? What do you think of this version? Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm sorry. I really don't like the horns there. I really, really, really don't. For You Blue. Hard. This goes hard, okay? That's all I have to say. We're gonna listen to more and I'm gonna say more, but that's all I really have to say is that the song goes hard. George's voice sounds great. He has a great voice. I mean, we never hear it, but love hearing it. This song is really great because you can tell he freaking likes it. He actually likes it. And I don't think George was happy about a lot of things if he wasn't meditating during that year. Okay, listen to this. So we hear George laughing like that. He's like legitimately happy here. This is also the same guy who was so upset just days, weeks, couple weeks before this, you know, that he temporarily left the band. This to me shows, and obviously things were not mended by the rooftop performance. Obviously, not at all. That's like putting a band-aid on a bullet hole at this point, okay? This shows that music can really heal a lot for them and they can find joy together as long as they're playing music. That is literally the best way that these boys communicate. They do not know how to communicate. Like... They're hopeless in a loving way, okay? Hopeless. But this is the way they do it, and you can hear it when he laughs. That's what means a lot. When you know some of this background stuff, you're like, they really did find a lot of peace there. He wants my hair tied. I'm gonna throw it, okay? I love the lap steel guitar. This sounds great. It's such a jam. This is like the opposite of Across the Universe. You don't need to have spiritually in order to listen to For You Blues. Why do you say things like this? You're a horrible person. You don't need to prepare emotionally to listen to For You Blue, but you like kind of have to for Across the Universe and you feel kind of guilty skipping. You wouldn't put it on a playlist. You wouldn't put Across the Universe on like your workout playlist. This could make it on your jog playlist. It's a fun song and you're not going to skip it because it's a fun song. You might skip it because you're pretentious, but I don't skip it because it's a fun song. I'm so stupid. And Get Back. I find the sound of tuning instruments very, very cathartic. I'm not into ASMR, not my thing, no thanks, hard pass, but I could listen to somebody tune a guitar forever. I love it. It's something very soothing for me. Honestly, I have a hard time pausing it because I want to keep jamming to it. Hard time pausing it because I have a hard time picking out things. This is a really... it's all good. Everything sounds perfect. And what's annoying is that we've heard them play this a bazillion times and it always sounds pretty close to perfect. Okay, guys, leave some room for the rest of us. And because Get Back started as a protest song, you know, while they were just jamming out, it lends to that jam feeling once again, that authentic feeling they were going for with Let It Be. But also it's something that they desperately needed, was that communicate through music. And that was something that they were able to get through Get Back because they kind of riffed their way into finding the song together. When they're playing it here, it sounds perfect. There's like no mistakes in the guitar solo because it was crafted note by note as they were working it out all day. There's no mistake in the drum because, well, honestly, because Ringo doesn't really make mistakes with the drums. He is the fucking click. Hell yeah. Oh, it will never cease to amaze me how hard this shit goes. Obviously recorded in 69, came out in 70. That goes so hard. Like, Get Back, Joe. They all just sound so young and fresh here. You know that they're exhausted, overworked, overwhelmed, and have seen too much, too fast, too quick. But they sound so young and hopeful here still, and it's wild.
I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the group and ourselves, and I hope we pass the audition.
They certainly passed the audition. And yes, that is like such a heartbreaking line. I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the group and ourselves, and I hope we pass the audition, John said at the end of their last performance together. Out. Let's do Let It Be Naked. Let's get naked. No, not funny. Okay, sorry. All right. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be. Okay, sorry. I did ask a few friends, like, what are your thoughts? Naked versus Let It Be. And one comment that I did get was, why Naked? Couldn't just call it Get Back. Why'd you do Let It Be Naked? I'm personally curious about why the ellipses. What was there, like, did we need I'm just curious. Would you guys name it something different? I don't know. Okay, so we're starting with Get Back right here. We just listened to Get Back from the other one. Right now it sounds damn near identical to me. Which isn't really the point. Like, the wall of sound isn't really the thing in these albums, but it is important to note. I like this. I feel like we can hear those vocal imperfections better. I love to hear a good laugh or a giggle in the middle of a song. It really just does it for me. It's nice to know that they enjoy it making it, especially with the Beatles. I obviously have a sick, delusional, emotional attachment to the Beatles. So knowing that they liked each other and the music that they were making when they were making it makes me like it better. So keep the giggle in. I love a good giggle. Sounds good. I mean... I'm really captivated by Paul's voice this time. I will say that most of the time when I'm listening to something, my attention will be drawn to something each time I listen, and usually it's something different every time. This time it's really drawn to Paul's voice. Paul's voice is really doing some work here. Dig a Pony. Let's scooch back a sec and listen to Paul. That's crazy. So here's the thing about with Let It Be and some of the rooftop performances with those Foley sounds added in and all the little kind of excerpts. There's this open air feeling of you're in there with the studio and you're feeling included in something. With this, it's like glaringly absent to me. It feels like something's been sucked out of the room. Like when you put your noise canceling headphones and you turn the transparency all the way off. It's certainly a deafening roar for me. For You Blue. This sounds just clean, like very, very clean. Sounds exactly the same. Dude, it is so good. Like, this sounds exactly the same to me from without the over-the-ear headphones. It's like pretty much the same, but I'm not mad about listening to it again. I mean, let's roll, let's jam. All right. It's all led up to this. The Long and Winding Road. This was the final take recorded on January 31st. So this was the day after the rooftop concert. It sounds so much better like this. So much better. Wow. It's so slow, and then it picks up. Maybe there's a granny moment, maybe, but I love how it picks up so quick. And I'm not a sucker for ballads. I'm a sucker for The Long and Winding Road. I really am. Sue me. Please don't. Oh my God, you guys are a litigious fucking bunch. Oh my God. Keep me out of court. I like this little easy. Very different, but I like it. This is very different. I like it. I think it fits very well. This is clearly the superior version. Two of Us. It sounds so good. I love the way that they mixed this, the way that they brought up every instrument, the way that the rhythm guitar is handled really well, the way that they handled the vocals. This is pristine. This song is very good in my opinion. I love the song so much, so I'm nitpicky about it and I'm very happy with this. I've Got a Feeling. Yes. Oh, it goes really hard. That goes so hard. Isn't it crazy that they played this on the roof? They were on the roof when they were playing this. Oh my God. George, take it. Oof. Baby boy. Oh, it's very good. His voice sounds great here too. Like I said earlier, he sounds like he has joy, hope. I like his voice here. Oh, I can't wait to do the Get Back React video. I don't know how long that thing's gonna be. Let's do One After 909, baby. And this is... Yeah, everybody just uses this take of One After 909 from the rooftop concert because apparently it was just that perfect, I guess. But they take out the Danny Boy. So, like, tell me that that stuff isn't, like, part of the song to you. When you're singing at the end, you're like, oh, Danny Boy. Like, I always do that shit. I always go along with it. I say it with it. Have those things, like, melded into the songs for you, too? Or, I'm assuming I can't be the only one, right? Don't Let Me Down. This is a good addition. This is a good addition. It is weird that it didn't make it on the album. Oh, it's such a good song. There's a lot of information here with what happened with production, what eventually happened, and why Phil Spector was actually brought in. We don't have time. I'm sorry. And I'm certainly skipping over a whole lot of stuff. So I really encourage you to go look up some of this stuff. I've listed all my sources below. There's a lot more interesting stuff that I'm missing, and I'm certainly going to get things wrong, as I am a fallible human being. I know it's hard to believe. John was really, really, really insecure about his voice, period, but especially during this point, things were not going well for his voice. What the heck? Sounds amazing. Or he thought things weren't going well for his voice. Sounds awesome. It's just... This song is... It's like a crime that it wasn't on the first Let It Be. Like... Come on, baby. I Me Mine, which is one of I Me Mine's favorite songs. And Go to Bed. That riff is taken care of right there. Listen. Prominently featured, given the moment that it is, still layered subtly underneath George, but it does bring in the punctuation for the next line. Baby, that is perfect right where it needs to be. I am weirdly picky about this. There are things that you don't get to know about yourself until 3:15 a.m. on a Wednesday, you know? And that's one of those things. Apparently I care about this now. Who knows? Who cares? You don't. Fucking rock song. It's a fucking rock song. Like, oh my god, that's like metal. That shit's metal. Oh. I don't like George's voice treatment as much on Naked and Across the Universe. Across the universe. So this is a remix of the original recorded on February 4th, 1968. So without speed and pitch alteration, sound effects, piano, maracas, and backing vocals, but with echo effects unique to this version. It is a weird experience, I gotta say. It sounds so different. Nothing's gonna change my world. And you're like, so where's the rest of the song, you know? Not gonna lie, this ain't it. I like Spector's Across the Universe much better than this one. It's sweet. It feels weird specifically to remove like sound and voice effects from John's stuff because of how like particular you know that he was about it. So it's like no matter who was producing it, he would have been as obsessed on something about it. I don't know. This is definitely not it for me personally. See, without the orchestration, and then there's obviously versions in Get Back with Paul harmonizing in between all of these, and it sounds great. If we had the orchestration or Paul something, it would feel less lonely, but John singing this like really deep shit, and he's saying nothing's gonna change my world, and it's just him and an acoustic guitar and like this light drone in the background. It feels pretty sad rather than uplifting, I guess. All right, and finally, let's listen to Let It Be. He sounds great. This sounds really good. I haven't paid as much attention to it as I am right now. Still sounds really good. It's not as naked sounding as I thought it was. Sorry, I'm like zoning out entirely. This guitar solo, like the other day, gave me, I was like, I'm not in the mood to have an emotional breakdown. My God, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. You know, sometimes music is just so impactful, and I had nothing that was causing any sort of emotion. It was just like, wow, that he put his whole soul into that. I'm like overwhelmed and I don't know. It's a great way to end an album. Can't argue with perfection, can you? Here's the deal. Before I decided to do this video, I was positive that Naked was gonna be like my victor. So I was like, I probably won't do it because I already love Naked more. And maybe I was like putting more weight on Naked because I knew that that's what the initial project's purpose was. So I was like, that's the real Let It Be, you know, but that's not exactly how things work, Mr. Hipster. Like, relax. It's not that deep. That's what I was pretty sure about. Then I started working on this, and then I was like positive that Let It Be 1970 was going to win. I was listening to it and I was like, I don't know, man. Phil Spector and all, some of this shit is like kicking my ass. You know, I am emotionally targeted by this album. I feel like I need to call the CIA because of this album. Did somebody put MK Ultra into this album? I was really torn, right? And then today I'm listening and I'm very happy with Let It Be. I've been listening to this for like an entire week, right? So I'm very happy with Let It Be. I'm trying like my best to make sure I don't forget anything, you know, and I'm trying to like let myself relax and listen to it. And I was pretty positive. I was like, going into Naked, I'm like, it's not gonna hold a candle to Let It Be. So when I started re-listening, getting ready for this video, the track list really threw me off of Naked. I forgot it being out of order. It was like screwing with me at first. And at first I was like, I fucking hate this. It like made me mad, you know? And then now looking at it, I think that the order makes sense. I think it's a better order ultimately, but I have no problem with Let It Be's order. You know, it is Let It Be, you know what I mean? So it's amazing in its own way, and there's no taking away from it, no matter what you could feel about Naked or any other iteration of the Beatles music. It is already what it is, so you can't discredit it. I have to say, y'all, it's Naked for me. It is Naked for me. Ultimately, it came down to the fact that it sounded more jam bandy for me. It was more representative of what I've seen in Let It Be, Get Back, heard in the Nagra Tapes. More of what I think all four of the Beatles were kind of hoping to see while they were working on this music. Also, just for me personally, I like it better. I just like it a little bit better. I have to say, though, if I were gonna give it an A, it gets an A- just because it took out the banter. Meaning, like, that would actually put Let It Be ahead of Naked. Like, taking out the banter, that feels criminal. So I'm pretty annoyed with that. But overall, I like Naked better. I do. It is what it is. And that doesn't change the fact that I listen to both. So what do you guys think? Are you really big into Let It Be? What do you think about Naked? You hate them both? You want to duke it out? You want to do it in the road? All right, listen. I'm so glad that y'all hung out with me. I know that it's been a long time, so I'm glad you stuck in there. And I'm really glad to see you here on my 1-year anniversary of doing whatever this is. I would absolutely love it if y'all would like and subscribe and all of that jazz. I love y'all so much. Y'all come back now, you hear? Bye.
My sweet Lord. My Lord. My Lord. But it takes so long, my Lord. My sweet Lord.